Alright, so this is the Money Pigs podcast, a show where three very best friends talk about Dawngate. This is special episode 10. We got some sweet new lore today. I'm your host, BestDibsNA, or William, and my regular two co-hosts are with me, RL John, and Twerp78 Randy. And
how's it going?
We're live. We had some minor technical difficulties again this week. Skype hates us. I think some people accurately descripted it, oh god. It's already off to a repreaching start.
We're preaching.
We're repreaching. I guess we're going to kick things off talking about the new lore that just got released today, Strand Part 1.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I keep forgetting that today's an actual work day, since it's a holiday up here in Canada. So when they posted the lore today, I was like, what are they doing posting on a Sunday? So it was a nice little treat.
It's still Sunday in Canada, apparently.
Yeah, I don't.
When do they normally have been doing lore? I guess I'd have to look at the news and announcements. I guess there was that one week where they just did the parts back to back to back.
Yeah, they had the 4 parts. Yeah, I don't know if this new shaper is for this week or next week.
Either way, it's coming soon, TM.
I think it's this week, because that's how they did it with Kendra. They did all lore, and then she was finally out by the beta.
Yeah, it's like Thursday they revealed the picture, and then... Or I guess Thursday's playtest they revealed her, Friday the patch came with her.
Yeah. Did you read through it?
I've glazed over it, and I think what we can gather is her name is Raina, and she has a silhouette that looks fabulous.
Yeah, she looks badass. Like,
I'm
that
not sure
shield
if it's
is
a
just as
hammer
tall
or
as
an
she
axe,
is.
though.
Yeah, it's hard seeing sideways. It looks like an axe to me, but...
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. 2D. It looks like it has some depth to it. Like, if you look at it, it's like either a really wide axe, or I think those are called hammers for the most part.
Or a narrow hammer. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's probably a hammer.
So, speculation, we see the word preservation on her image. You have any theory crafting? Preservation? Is this for herself or for her team?
I would guess
that's the question. She's probably a tank.
I mean, generally, you don't have a shield that covers three-fourths of your body if you don't plan on doing lots of tanking.
So you're thinking that she's going to go whole melee tank archetype, sort of a Desecrator Kel sort of dealio?
That's my assumption. I can't see her being like some sort of like super aggressive like damage dealer, and definitely not attack speed, because her weapons are bigger than she is. So
I think it might be like, if you consider Desecrator and Zeri as the supports for right now, I think this shaper is going to kind of fall in between, where Desecrator is pretty much just hard CC but no like buffs for your allies, and Zeri is pretty much like all buffing your allies and no real hard CC besides like her silence. I think this shaper might be somewhere in the middle of that, where she's got a little bit of hard CC and then a little bit of buffs for the team, stuff like that.
I'm pretty excited for her, because melee tanks have been doing well in the jungle lately, so it's going to be nice to have, another person to try out in the jungle. Hopefully her kit allows for good ganking, because Kel's a melee tank. He ganks really well. Now, obviously, they don't have as fast of clear as someone. Is it called melee speed bruiser? Is that what Volek and Moya are considered?
Yeah, the melee attack speed bruisers.
Yeah, the melee speed bruisers. So those obviously have the fastest clear speed. But you should have pretty good clear speed, hopefully, just based off of archetype stats alone. For kit allows for that. And at this point, you don't really need a health regen ability or anything to jungle. Someone just gives you a hard leash and anybody can have a good time. So I'm excited to see her capacity in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of assumed that unless you have a lot of ranged abilities, you're probably going to be in the jungle. Like, even Desecrator, which is played mostly in the lane, is only he's only able to do that because he has like those 3 ranged abilities. So,
and he's got really good range on those abilities too. Yeah, like you said.
Right. Desecrator dominates lane for that reason. And sort of he's got the melee, he's got the 3 range, and his kit sort of does everything. I don't know if you guys want to move into patch notes, but Desecrator did get hit on this last patch 7, I believe is what we're calling this.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, just sort of segue in there, like Randy was talking about how Desecrator and Zeri are like really supporty. Yeah, from like an archetype perspective, Desecrator is labeled as a tank, whereas Zeri is labeled as a support. Um, so yeah, you also have another tank, Kel, which is like more offensive. So I'd be sort of interested which archetype they stick her in, because it's still feasible that she could be a melee support character, without being a tank, um, which would sort of probably make her worse in the jungle. But I mean, that's all depending on where they stick her.
Maybe her
I,
hammer thing is actually a boomerang, and she's really a range shaper, and they're throwing us for a loop.
just a range shaper with a giant shield.
Right, but I mean, like the visual, sort of posted on the Reddit today was that she looks sort of like Herrick from League, who is less of a tank and more of a support. And with her vitality being, what is it, perseverance or preservation? I mean, it sort of almost links into like healing or shielding or something. So I'm interested to see which direction they take her.
That was my thing. I'm not sure if she's preserving her team or herself. So if it's going to be sort of self damage reduction or team oriented, so she could really go either way, tank or support, and she could just be a tank archetype that plays as a support. So
right,
anything's possible.
It would be interesting to see if they really are going with this perseverance, whatever preservation archetype. Like if we see the first heal in the game, like a targetable heal.
First heal, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't really have. I mean, people have heals, but it's not like it's all self-healing or a lifesteal component. We haven't seen really a shaper who has like I see this shaper here and I'm going to heal them. We haven't had that yet.
Yeah, there was some discussion in the RC. Someone sort of hadn't played the game, was like theory crafting ahead of time, and like was curious about the creation item because it had heal, like it boosted your healing. Yet like most shapers don't have healing, so they were sort of asking if there was a healing shaper yet. So I think compared to like League of Legends, where healing kind of got boring, especially when healers were prevalent, like Soraka, because you can spam damage so freely in this game that maybe healing wouldn't be so bad. If that is the case that healing's in her kit. So I'm intrigued.
I'm interested to see even what energy system she has for abilities. Is it going to be pure shaper, pure shaper, pure shaper? I don't know, because it'd be interesting if there was like sort of a healing energy type, and I don't know, energy or a rage sort of system. I mean,
yeah, I'm suspecting like not heals. I'm suspecting shields, if anything. Like preservation to me seems more like a mitigative form instead of just healing. But I guess the sky's the limit. We'll find out on Thursday, hopefully.
Hopefully on Thursday we'll have the full kit.
Maybe it's an AoE health regen aura or something.
We're set on these health regens.
Yeah.
So enough of Raina. Just taking a look at the patch. I think the biggest thing was all melee shapers got like what, 25-30% boost in their attack range.
Yeah. I'm so mad about this too.
You're mad?
Well, no, I'm not mad about the range increase in general. I'm mad that they've broken their archetype system 9 weeks into the beta by giving Volek the 170 range instead of 130.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week. I think John was saying...
Big.
Yeah, well, John was saying that like his passive should be changed to like pure shaper big hands. So at least when they're breaking their rule, they've got an explanation. It's like, come on, he's pure shaper big hands, guys. Like, he gets this extra range. He's got big hands passive.
The way the rest of the game is designed and coded is that, different archetypes have the exact same base stats. So Volek and Moya have the same base stats. Vari and Mikella, Nissa have the same base stats. And now, like, there's like a single exception already. And, I get it, right? Volek's got a big sword, and he has the lowest mobility in the game, probably. So, like, I get that they've increased the range, but like I wish they were a little more clever and was like, oh, something in the passive, because now it's just different, for the sake of balance, but it breaks sort of the rest of the systems, at least from my perspective.
Going full lore on us. I really noticed the Volek change. Acids plays Volek a lot for fun, and we sort of consider it a bonus when we win when he's playing Volek, because he can't carry the hardest on Volek. Not to say Volek's a bad shaper, but just the carry potential as opposed to your physical ranges and just Moya, just sort of those sort of fun things. But still, Volek, it's just like he was sniping people with that sword, with like the one shots at ranges that he wouldn't normally
Right.
be able to pick up kills. So I think it was a good change for Volek, because before he sort of couldn't close the gap, he just needed that extra, 50 range, and now he can sort of get that
Hmm.
that last hit in, which makes him a lot more viable ganking out of the jungle, which is a nice change to see.
Well, I mean, it's been
His
kind of a series of little things with Volok too, if you noticed. Like, well, now we have the range increase, and before that we had the increase in the speed on his slow. So I definitely think Volok is getting, because there's no doubt that he was definitely on the weaker end of the spectrum in earlier
hmm
weeks of the beta. So now he's got a little bit faster missile speed on that W. Now he's got that little bit of a range increase on his auto attack. So it's like now Volok is kind of being brought up, but he's not. There's not that huge disparity between him and Moya anymore, especially with the nerfs to Moya. They are kind of trying to bring things a little bit closer.
Yeah, we're seeing baby steps on Moya, especially with the scaling on Bolt from 5.5 down to 3.5. 3.5 ranks was pretty crazy on dashes. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even be surprised if it got to a point where Moya's dashes maybe even got to 5 seconds overall, because 3.5 at max rank is still, it's pretty short to get down to there at the end.
I don't know. Moya feels pretty balanced now, and like Volek isn't the joke that he, week one Volek was like, oh my god, you can't stop Volek, right? And then like
Right.
week two and week 3, 4, 5, it's like, oh wow, what an underpowered joke of a shaper. Now Volek's like in a really pretty good spot. Like his Q hits so hard. Like when you're playing Amaranth or Zeri or somebody, the squishy, and you're at half, Volek comes up and just like pounds you down. So
I
think
think
the
that one
important
game
part.
against the
Yeah, go ahead,
Fenmore.
Randy.
No, because I was saying that's like the one of the times I wanted to try Volok. I did that against Fenmore. Like I just walked out of the jungle at like level 3, like hit a W and my Q, and Acids was like, "Welcome to Volok." I was like, "Oh yeah, that was pretty fun."
Yeah,
yeah,
Volek is he's cute, and I think an important thing to note is even where his gank potential lacks, he clears the jungle silly fast. Like small camps to Volek, he just eats through those. Even like Predator jungling with Volek, you can go Hunger 2-pot and sustain in the jungle and clear it like a monster, and just do like all 3 big camps, many pigs, come out slightly above lane level, and just bam, shoot someone. They don't really expect the pred, and that XP and Vim bonus is just going to help Volek snowball. So Volek is sort of dependent on finding good opportunities and ganking lanes. And once Volek gets about 3 kills, he's so far ahead. Like he's got his level 11 ult while everyone's still level 9, and he's just, yeah, I'm Volek, you can't stop me. I'm just going to cruise around and slap, 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 and one-shot squishies. It's pretty good, but having to snowball to that point with 3 kills does certainly take a good amount of skill and finding those opportunities.
That is really the threshold, though. It is like 3 kills.
It's like 3
On-
kills, Volek will win the game.
on with Kindra, Volek, anyone like that, like any of those like really especially snowball-y shapers, it's like 3 kills seems to be the magic number. 2 kills and an assist if you're playing Predator, like that's all you need. And then from there, like if you lose after that point, then you did something wrong, because you should. That's really
well,
like you get really strong at that point.
the nice thing about Volek's tuning and balance is that when he does get ahead, there's still some pretty like sizable countermeasures you can put him forth. Like obviously crowd control and locking him down isn't going to be important, and then paint reduces his healing. Whereas I find with shapers like Kindra, it's a little harder to just itemize ahead of her, because she's going to have the Vim to outscale your whatever countermeasures from the item department you're going to put together.
Word. What else was there? Moya was cute. Petrus got a slight change. Reprimand damage increase. So, damage increase is always fun. I think Petrus could still use a little more tuning. He's weird.
Yeah.
He's hard to play in lane, hard to play in the jungle.
He's fairly underplayed, at least from what I've seen.
Right.
And since he's very easy to play but hard to play well, I think a lot of people have probably picked him up, didn't do well, and sort of moved on to some of those more high impact shapers. But I have seen a couple Petruses do a pretty sizable chunk of work, and also, in a pretty balanced game, his kit's actually quite good, right? Like an AoE stun is an AoE stun. You just have to not get behind, which is a little harder, obviously, with his kit.
And the area on that stun is quite large. Like, you can easily hit a sizable group of people with it, so.
You can. It's just, I don't know. With Petrus, it's weird because you can't initiate with him really. Like, he really has got to be kind of like your secondary init, and it's like, oh, people bunch up in a team fight, you land that stun and stun 2-3 people, then it's really nice. But like, you can't like start a fight with Petrus unless like you blink behind someone and
You
punch
gotta
him into your
blink,
team.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really it. And you don't want to rely on a 300-second cooldown spell to be your init.
Yeah, Tailwind is iffy as well. It's just that jump, his stun jump, is too short of a range. Not too short, but it's not long enough for proper initiation. It's sort of your mid-game initiation of, okay, you've started this, now I'm going to jump in stun and either try and one-shot their carry with my QR combo or punch him out to my group with my ult and sort of displace them. So Petrus is sort of a displacer, and it's weird. You sort of have to comp around Petrus, where Petrus isn't just sort of, hey, I'm going to pick this. It's like, hey, I'm your secondary in it. You need to pick something sort of to support my playstyle. That's sort of how I view him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he might need a little more love, but like he does have a lot of potential, especially with what Randy was saying with like the blink ult, like blinking behind people and ulting them in your team is like that. I mean, that's always going to be powerful, no matter what the rest of his kit does. So, I mean, maybe a little more love, but I still think he's in a reasonably good spot. I think it's just hard to play.
Yeah, I think
people.
It could be like one of those Lee Sin things where it takes a couple weeks for people to figure it out, and the next thing you know, Petrus is out of hand.
Right. And then as for other shapers, Desecrator basically got like, not nerfed to the ground, but hit pretty hard.
He's still insane. Oh my goodness! Like playing some Battle Desi this last week.
Can we talk about Power Desecrator?
Destruction Decay alone. Like, oh my goodness. Like,
let's just briefly. So just to go over the changes, like his W got his damage nerfed, his E got the damage nerfed, and then they removed the magic resist shred on his ultimate.
Which I think was a good change. He was doing so much before. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to shred you and stun you and silence you and do lots of damage while I do all of this, and I have 1-to-1 ratios, and it's like, Desecrator, please stop.
But I will let you guys go into Power Desi, because I didn't get a chance to see it, so...
You haven't, have you played against a Power Desi? Because there's a number of Power Desi players, and like...
I guess I haven't noticed.
The people that are good at Power Desi, it's just like, they drop their ult, they snare you, it's got like decay on it, it starts doing percent damage, they drop your ult on you, it's like they stun you, then they place the ult where you're like running towards, and they stun you again in it, and it's just, you're gone, you can't get to him, it's like... Okay, Desecrator. I like the way that you just, like, burned all of my health instantly.
Well, it's that too, and like he's so good at zoning with his E and his ult, because his ult and his E are these giant ranges of big slowed areas where no one can get past. So if you get into a bad position in a jungle fight against the Desecrator, like, and your team isn't like, within good reaction range, and you gotta walk over those slows, you're boned. Like, whoever got caught out is dead, and you can't get there in time because Desecrator just zoned everybody. But the problem with the power ratios on Desecrator is, it's like, listen, every single one of his abilities is a CC. So if he lands one, he's going to land all of them. Because if he lands you with the snare, you're going to get knocked up and stunned. Then he's going to walk up, monkey clap you, drop his ult, melt all your health. Like, it's just, he does not need power ratios that high. I'm sorry. For having as much CC as he does, I saw it a couple times on a couple different people playing Power Desecrator, and I'm just like, please, we have to do something about this. This is out of hand.
Yeah, because, like, just looking at it, his Q has, 1.0 magic ratio on the line. He's got half ratio on his attack damage passive. On top of that, I think, how much is he already getting on his attack damage? Base attack. He's got a 0.8 attack damage ratio, so I think he's getting, like, 1.3 on those silent slaps.
Yeah,
from
that's
his
what
power.
I mean, dude. Like, you're doing all this damage with the spells, and then he auto-attacks you, and like, oh, well, I'm dead.
Yeah, because he can just run up, do the clap on you.
The gorilla clap.
Gorilla clap.
it's a tricky place, right? Because
Wham!
he needs long cooldowns for crowd control. Obviously, you can't put like a 5 second cooldown on crowd control. So to make up for the fact that his cooldowns are all above 10 seconds, they've like bumped the damage up really high. But it's all like front loaded, right? So like after he does his full combo, he doesn't do any damage for 8 seconds, but since most people don't build tanky, that's enough. That's the give. That's you're dead because you're A, CC'd, and B, you took 315 plus 1 power ratio base damage, which is like, pretty flippin' high for a tank.
Sorry, I was making sure I had your Twitter right. Twitch had sent me off on a Twitch chat sent me off on a tangent. Dibs Q is fun. I like new Dibs. He's really strong. Did you play new Dibs? Play against new Dibs? Play with new Dibs?
I think they just noobified him. So instead of like being really effective with your 3 stacks, you just get 1 stack that does more damage.
Yeah, you sort of needed 2 stacks before to be effective, but you can still get like, as opposed to getting 2 stacks to do the same amount of damage, you're doing like that same amount of damage, but twice as quickly, because I get a stack, you pop that stack, I stack again, you pop that stack, as opposed to I stack twice, you pop that stack. I mean, his DPS is higher. I think it's like twice as high.
Oh, really?
Is Twitch lagging?
It seems to be lagging. Yeah.
Check.
I think we're okay. Everything seems to have straightened itself out.
We're live.
I think that was a nice little boost to Dibs.
It's just crazy because he got his Q damage touched up last week, and I already thought that was pretty high.
I was gonna say that was. I thought it was a little. I don't know if he needed a buff right away again, but I mean, hey, whatever. I don't see that many Dibses, to be honest. He's not played that often.
And the Q is a pretty small area, and it's not impossibly hard to dodge it. So I mean, it takes a good Dibs player to be able to land those consistently.
Yeah, you got to get good with like when you're playing Dibs. It's more like you're watching your minions more so than the enemy minions, because you want to see which one they're going to go try to last hit, because that's where you have to throw your Q.
Skittle mechanics.
That's kind of fun. Yeah, it really is. It's like playing Karthus.
Back to the patch notes. So many shaper changes.
Back to the patch notes.
Yeah. I've gone through most of the ones. I mean, Freya's a cute change. I think she's a little more viable now. I played her in lane and jungle last week, and it did not go terribly for me. I got some good ganks off.
I like that her slow is a flat 40% now, as opposed to being 25, because it really was so bad early on. Like, I mean, it was only good for the stun, and it's like if you use the stun on Freya, you either aren't getting your damage off or you have no means of escaping after diving into the back line. So the fact that it's a nice base 40% slow, it's like, okay, good, I don't have to level this to make it actually be a viable skill. I can just kind of ride with it at level 1, level up my other 2 skills in the beginning, and it felt a little bit better. And I like the fear. I definitely noticed the duration of fear, even though it was only like 0.2, a quarter of a second, whatever. I like where it's at now. It did feel a little too short beforehand, and it was like almost like by the time you noticed you were feared, it was. For now, it's like, oh, I'm feared, and I can't do anything. Oh, now I can move. Like it feels a lot nicer now.
Yeah, I noticed it a lot actually. I obviously don't play Freya, but on the receiving end, I never died to Freya, and I was suddenly dying to Freya, and I was like, what is this? What is this shit? Just because the fear is like super long now. Like a quarter of a second is noticeable at least. I mean, like percentage-wise, that's like another 20% on the duration of compared to previous. Like that's noticeable.
It's a good change. Zeri going down to 25% with their butterfly is a nice change. Variant.
Yeah, she's just too strong, and it's unnoticeable, right?
I think power ratio on Varian was nice because his counterpart physical range carries Nissa and Michaela just did a lot more damage with their ults than he did. Obviously their kits are different, and Varian has that progress gate, but I mean Varian doesn't even feel as, because before Varian was insane because of that long range he could blink with. Like, he was pretty unkillable. He could sort of kite all over the place. Trick 1 2.
Yep. Sorry, I was reading. Reading kits. Yeah, I played Varian once this week, and I was like shocked at how low his W range feels like. I've just sort of established the fact that Nissa just seems way better now. Like a small blink doesn't seem comparable to her haste increases, and I felt like he needed a bit of love. So just bumping the ratio on his ult that's what they did, right? They just made
His
it
ult
slightly
did feel
stronger.
very, very lackluster prior to. I felt it hurt a little bit more this week, but still, yeah, his ult. I don't like Varian's ult at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's not as impressive as when you Mikella someone across the map and you chunk them for 50% of the health, or Nissa when you boomerang out and recall it and chunk a whole giant group of people twice. So
dots are hard, right? I mean, in order for them to even seem like they're doing any damage, they always have to do like a little more damage. It just even feel good, right? So like 1.2, I mean, for an ultimate 1.2 ratio is not that bad. Like that's only 0.2 higher than Desecrator's Q. So, and I like the W change. The opening the window up higher, definitely I like jukes. So if I can throw my gate one way, go the other, juke back, like, give me a big window for that. I'm happy.
Yeah, bigger window is nice. I want to move into the spells now. So we saw Dispel get changed from 180-second cooldown to 90. I don't know if they're saying, hey, this is a balance fix, or I think it was more of nobody was picking Dispel, so they wanted to incentivize, like, hey, look, this has got a short cooldown. You should try playing some games with it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it went up to 120, because Dispel is really good.
I think the reason they're keeping it 90 is so you can line it up with everybody's ultimate, so it's always available. Just so that it's sort of like a staple for ranged attack damage carry type players. So it just seems like like the change is just like almost boring. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna make these line up, so it's always up, and then you use the ultimate, I use my cleanse or my dispel, and that's just the way it's gonna be. So, like I'm neither excited nor disappointed at all. It's just sort of like meh on that one.
I mean, as someone who plays a lot of Amaranth, I've had people dispel my EQ, and I lose my mind. Like, I land the bubble, and then they immediately dispel it and run away, and they're like,
It nullifies everything.
No damage from you. And I mean, that's the huge part about Amaranth, is like her one job is to dash in, ult so they can't like run away or anything, and while they're in the air you land your EQ, and then like you stasis or something and hope your team picks it up. But it's just like, it's your one job to dash in and kill the AD carry. But like, if they cleanse your bubble, they're maybe going, like, just from your ult alone, they're maybe going to take like 50% damage from your ult and Q. So it helps to negate Amaranth's just
it's super easy to
explosiveness.
do one Amaranth now.
It reminds me a lot of like old cleanse and old Morgana ult in League. If you remember back in the day, you could cleanse off like Morgana's shackles, and it's the same kind of thing. Like once you do that, it's like, oh well, now I'm useless. So and it's the same thing. If you're, I don't know if I like. Maybe if you cleanse it, I think it needs to be the thing where it's like if you cleanse it, it'll remove the slow from the bubble. But like, how are you cleansing the bubble? That's not a debuff. The slow is the debuff. The bubble is the damage.
Well,
it's like being able to cleanse a Zillion bomb. Like that doesn't make any sense.
It's a little odd, but since it is coded as a debuff, like for now, like that's just sort of the way it'll have to be.
I'd like to see that change, because I don't like the fact that you can cleanse that or dispel that kind of damage. It doesn't seem in the interest of dispel. Dispel is about getting out of CC, not getting out of damage. If you want to get out of being dealt damage, you take Bastion.
Yeah,
Dispel works on Varian ult.
Yeah, I mean it basically just works on dots in addition to crowd control. So it's a little stronger than cleanse in League.
Yeah, but that's how cleanse used to be in League, and then they nerfed cleanse because you could like cleanse out of like suppressions and stuff back in the day. So like imagine being able to dispel out of Moya ult, and she's just like stuck up in the air, and you just chop down to the ground and walk away. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh, if you could, yeah. I haven't tried dispelling everything.
Like
That's something I need to do.
I'm
Dispel
curious.
Moya, dispel.
You can't.
What about Mikella ult? Can you dispel out of that one?
Nope.
Nope.
It's a channeled spell.
Though channeling.
And then Moya is the only suppression in the game, which you can't dispel.
Can't do anything with.
So I guess Glory was the only item that got touched. Another price increase, couple hundo.
Yeah,
I definitely
money up, damage down.
I don't. It's really like put me off from picking it up early because before I would always have just enough gold to go from either life or resilience into pride, and now a lot of times like I'm forced to be and I'm 100 gold short, and it's really tempting to go into a different item and like go for rampancy or rebirth or strife or something different as a first item. I
don't know why the audio is really poopy.
Yeah, sorry.
You could try dropping out of the call and coming back in.
I hear both of you really crappy too, though.
Maybe it's just your net. Because
me
and John are fine.
I would try a quick reconnect from Randy.
Yeah, I think that is what is in progress currently.
Try that.
Oh, Randy sounds good.
You sound better.
I do sound
Instantly.
better?
You sound beautiful.
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, so what were we talking about, Glory?
I think Glory's a good change because before I would rush it every game, and
it was too good and too cheap.
Now it's seriously tempting to go for a different item. Like even protection is something I've been digging on. It's a 2k item. It gives you like 40 to both of your resists and 300 health, and it helps your team. That's a great item.
Yeah, it's a good item.
Also,
Randy,
like,
you were saying that you were dropping it for a different item now, though. Before the show.
I started because I used to, you'd always rush Glory first on Cerulean, but I think my new hotness is now Strife, because Strife is really cheap and it gives really good base stats, not counting stacking it up. Like it's like 300 health, and I don't remember the power base. It's like 35.
It's 42.
Or 40.
Right, but after
42.
After a bit, you get up to like 50 power, 500 health, and
that's what I mean. It's like after like 5 minutes of having a Strife, all of a sudden you're rocking an item with 500 health and 50 power. Like,
and then when
that's
you get
nothing
that,
to sneeze at.
when you get like rampancy and glory up, like it makes rampancy like. Once you have a stacked strife and you buy rampancy, it makes rampancy give like 50 power. So from those two items alone, you've got like over 1k extra health and 100 additional power. So it's cute, especially with how much Randy and I harass spirit wells. Like strife is certainly something I've been sort of neglecting these past few weeks because glory was in such a good place before. But I've sort of been reconsidering and taking a look at starting with power when I lane Cerulean. I think you can even get away with power in the jungle if you go hunter, certainly.
But
you could always.
Otherwise, when I was jungling Cerulean, I had to do 7 pot.
Yeah, you could go 7 pot and then just rush the power. What's the one with damage resolve?
You could rush Strife out of the jungle and get it still early on. Like it was nuts. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even need a glory. I'm just gonna go right from Strife into rampancy.
Yeah, I mean, Strife's a great item. I wish I took it more often, because like I'm mostly playing Power Shaper, so I'm always rushing Destruction, but Strife's reasonably cheap, and it's got a reasonably cheap upgrade path too. I think it's like 800 for the blue upgrade and 1300 for the purple upgrade. So like it's something you can afford, especially when you're behind too, without having to save up 2k for that Destruction. So like I want to try to remember to take it more, because like right now I just forget.
I've even started picking up Strife and Rampancy on Amaranth, just because I end up with as much power as if I was buying power items, but I'm also not one-shottable by their team, so I can take a hit when I'm backing off.
Which one's Rampancy?
Rampancy is the one that gives you like 650 health and power. It's got the Atma's effect as well. It gives you power based off of your health, so it's the biggest health item in the game as well, so just picking that up alone makes it lets you soak up a couple spells, which is just it's fantastic.
I gotta update the tooltip because I only got the consume one, so I was a little confused. But yeah, the Atma's effect makes sense.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure.
Being tanky is really important for winning games that you're ahead as well. It lets you make mistakes. and still live, right? You go full glass cannon, you make a mistake, you die. You go
Hmm.
tanky with damage, you have the exact same damage as your enemy, but you have like 1,000 more life. So you make mistakes, you get messy, and you just go in, and you still win, and it opens up the tower dives like just easy, right? You take 4 or 5 tower hits instead of 1 or 2. So it's I'll have to try that build out.
Yeah, I was running a crazy like nothing but health and power cerulean jungle build that was working
Mhm.
pretty well. It was just like strife, rampancy, um, like inevitability, just anything with health. Like I didn't care about any resists. I'm like, whatever, dude. If I have 4K health, it's gonna take them a while to kill me anyway. I don't need
Yep.
resists. So I would just have like be running around with like 4K health and 250 power, just dunking all over the place, and it was so much fun.
A lot of people are prioritizing penetration as well, so just building flat health is going to be good.
Right, because
Yeah,
it's
you're
it's
right.
pretty easy for those magic shapers to get up to 100% pen pretty quickly due to the way the pen formulas are. Like, even with destruction and the 12 pen loadout, they're cutting through a little over base MR. So even with like one
Hmm.
MR item, you maybe only are back to like 30 magic resist, and as soon as they pick up a 40% pen, like you can just say goodbye to all of your MR. And I mean, assimilation gives pen, chaos gives pen, everything gives pen. So
Yeah,
And you
there's a
probably started with the pen loadout.
yeah,
yeah
I
like
always go
there's
pen loadout because pen is a lot more expensive and difficult to come by than power is. Like it's power is just something that sort of comes on items, whereas defense pen, it's just like I want that flat 12, so when I have destruction, like I don't have to worry about getting a pen item until like late game, and then I can just get either 40% pen or an assimilation, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, particularly for magic resist, like, I very, very, very rarely see people start will, like that 24 MR item, and then reduce the spell damage by a flat value, whatever it is, 10. So, like, I find across the board, magic resist is always a little lower than I think it should be compared to, say, armor, which you can get pretty early when you're getting your pride and your glory. Like, you see a lot of armor, but very rarely do you see magic resist.
Um, I guess the next thing I wanted to talk about was the physical range carry builds we're seeing come out with
You see,
Fate.
Venor, I told you we were getting to it.
Yeah, Fate, Ruin, Insight. What else? What other fun items do they go? Just full haste builds, pretty much. It's like they get destruction. You don't even really need destruction. Ferocity alone is enough because that gives you the sustain.
Hmm.
Um, and then you're seeing just Insight and Fate for ultimate range cheese. And the way Fate works is I think it's about a 200 range spread based off of the target you attack. So if there's you're hitting someone and there's somebody behind them, like say you're hitting someone 550 units away from you. If there's somebody 750 units away from you, but they're within that 200 range of that shaper you're hitting, your attacks are even going to go to them. And with Insight, you're getting, again, what, that 20% increase on your attack. So all of a
Hmm.
sudden it's like
20,
you've
yeah.
almost got like a 40% increase on your attack to targets in the back, and the way that, Fate and Inevitability go off on every hit, there's no cooldown like Chaos where you have to wait 6 seconds. It's just you hit somebody once, anybody in the area is just instantly slowed, so they can't get to you. You've got a lot of the Shapers with kite potential. Nissa can't be caught unless you just like directly jump on her. Just
Hard
Yeah, you got to blink
CC.
on her.
she's got
And
that.
even so, we were doing that. We had games like that where we went up against Michaela's building that ridiculous fate, insight, destruction, inevitability crap, and it's like we would kill her, but she would kill 3 of us in the process, and it's like, well, that's not really worth it then, now is it? Like, fate is ridiculously strong at the moment, only because that the bounce happens from the target that gets hit. Why can't they just make it like Runon's Hurricane in League, where it happens like that from the beginning, and it's not like, because that just gives you, it's like cheese range.
Yeah, especially with the shape of Dongate's map, there's a lot of tight jungle paths that it's basically the entire area, right? It's the whole jungle path that you're in because they're really tight.
Yeah, tight paths in this game.
I'm done.
Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah. Mikella though, in
Tight
general,
map.
Mikella with the has extreme synergy. I think we talked about this a bit last week, but like, her W being active, making 3 auto attacks equal to 5 auto attacks with like the fate stuff is just like, I mean, how many auto attacks is that? Like 15, 20 auto attacks? Was it 3 targets that split off?
Three
Like, it's
targets.
huge.
She's already doing like twice. Okay. Also, base attack speed on range shapers. Like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, let's just look at
You're
Mikella.
wrong.
Does she start with 1.4 attacks per second? Because
I don't know.
it honestly it says it's
Someone should
1.4.
make a
It
someone
feels.
should make a site about
I'm
that.
going to I'm going to analyze some gameplay footage later and take a look at like how many attacks are going off. Like stopwatch it, count how many attacks she gets off. Because I mean, just with the 3 haste items, base attack speed, base scaling, haste ratios, level 20, you get up to a little over 4 attacks per second, I believe,
It's insane.
with that build. And that sounds right. To put it in comparison, League of Legends caps at 2.5 auto attacks per second. I don't know if there should be a hard cap on attack speed, higher diminishing returns. I'm more in favor of higher.
think so.
I'm more in favor of higher diminishing returns, and so it maybe like soft caps around 3, and just lowering that attack speed. Because if she is starting with 1.4, which is what it feels like, I mean I haven't really fully investigated it, but if you take a look at a similarly paced game, which would be League, most of those ranged champions are only starting with like 0.6, 0.65 attack speed. So this is like more than double that. Which, I mean, if physical range carries are meant to be hard carries, that's fine. But they're so strong early game, and they're just strong throughout the entire game, and they get so many attacks off, and they've got great synergy with the items in the game. So it's my concern that they might be a little too strong, but hopefully not.
My biggest issue was this. We had someone who went like literally bought every single tank item in the game, hope, order, subjugation, equilibrium, like all of the armor items that are supposedly to mitigate strictly auto attack damage, and Mikella still tore through him like tissue paper with that build. So that goes to show me like and she didn't even have what's rage? Is that the one with the 40% pen?
Yes.
She didn't even have rage, and she was still like shredding a full 400 armor tank like in seconds. And
Like
I'm
five,
sorry.
like 5 seconds, because you're getting 4 attacks off a second, so it's like not even 5 seconds. Like 3 seconds in that W, you're getting twice as many attacks off. As you're getting your W like off in less than a second. I mean,
By the time you close the gap to Mikella with that build or any ranged AD, like you have so little health that you maybe get 2 spells off and then you die. So it's like I don't know, something. I feel like something has to be done about the maybe some of the items, or just ranged AD attack speed in general, because it's just when you get to that 40-minute game and a ranged AD has 6 items, like unless they really screw up bad, you're not going to kill them. And if you do kill them, they're going to kill 3-4 people with you.
It sort of feels like Dota in a lot of ways, but the thing about Dota is you just sort of have someone farming ancients, farming the jungle, farming creeps for 35, 40 minutes, and then your whole team supports you. And the game is built around hard carries, whereas in this game it's just like these physical range carries sit in lane, they've got high kill potential, they've got great ratios on all their abilities, all of their stats. It's just they're hard carries throughout the entire game, as opposed to just only being relevant at that 40-minute mark. So I think it's I think there's a lot of builds that haven't been explored. So there's a good possibility there's a perfectly logical counter to this, and we're just idiots and haven't thought of it yet, which I'm hopeful for. But I've really been noticing it, because more and more people are doing that Fate, Insight, Ruin build, and it's just blowing my mind every week.
Well, you should be probably grabbing Wither on one of your tanks, because that's a 25% reduction on their damage just flat out, plus the 40% attack speed slow, and then moreover than armor, I think you want to be grabbing that equilibrium, I believe, reduces the speed. And there's the other one that reduces their damage by a flat amount as well. And then obviously order is just a flat damage reduction for you. So I think there is ways to build tank
like
enough,
when you go
but
6 build tank against 6 build AD carry. AD carry
80
still
carry
shreds you in
wins
3
every
seconds.
time.
It will shred you, and like you're gone. You're like, I mean, we've tried it. Other people have tried it. It's pretty crazy. So.
But are you
And
also
it's
using
fine
Wither?
Yeah, we picked up Wither at the end of the game, and it still didn't matter.
I mean, I haven't had like a full 6-item build and withered, but even still, when
Right.
you've got over 4 attacks per second, like even if you're just hitting
I don't
them
think
down
you can
to
hit 4 attacks per second.
I
I don't
mean,
think you can.
go.
We'll have to check the
watch.
math.
I mean, I'll post a video of a 4-second attack because I know Randy's played against him. We've had people on our team, so there's certainly a good amount of footage that we have access to with 6 build 80 carries in it, and.
Alright, we'll have to check it.
Like I went that sort of build. We were playing an all random all top. I went Varian, went full haste build, and it was at least 3 attacks per second. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of attacks per second.
Yeah, I mean, I expect 3 attacks per second is probably closer to what you're saying, which is still really high, obviously, right?
Right,
Like,
because I'm
that's
not sure on the
15
full.
attacks in 5 seconds.
I don't really know what
that's a
the
big
current
number.
soft cap is or the full diminishing return formula is. So a lot of my math is a little flawed since I don't have all of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy though.
I think a lot of
my
it's
biggest
coming down
problem
to
with
what
it is
Randy
that-
was talking about.
But it's
Sorry.
really it's the fact that Fate does all of that splash damage, because it's
Yeah.
like it's fine if they're doing that much damage to one target. I'm okay with that because that's what a ranged AD should do. If you let a ranged AD
Right.
attack someone over and over again with no consequence, yeah, the ranged AD should win. But it's the fact that like you take 3 of your bruisers and you rush the AD, and she's able to sit there and bring all of them to half health by standing in place and just biding her time until they close the distance. Like, it's too much. It's just too much, man.
Yeah, especially the players that are good at stutter stepping, they can really keep that distance. They've got the short little bounce, and meanwhile you do have 4 other teammates with this physical range carry helping stun you, keep you in place, and peeling for her. So it's an interesting place to be in.
Now, your team should also have the AD carry, though, as well, right?
You don't always have it.
You should. If you're lining up a comp without one, you need to have like a specific goal in mind.
But
Like, oh, I'm
even
gonna win the
even
first 20
still,
minutes.
my fear is that
2 AD carries.
you don't want it to be AD carry versus AD carry. Like you don't want it to be the whole game. We're just supporting this AD carry. I don't really think that's the most
I'm not
fun.
playing Dota.
Like I'm.
Well, even League's the same way. No, I get what you're saying, because like one of the things Dongate sort of started doing already is like tanks can carry, right? You see people with the capacity to carry a game, even on like Cerulean, who's like mostly built as like a healthy tank type person. Yeah, no, I get that.
And Cerulean's
like,
pretty much my carry of choice just due to his natural survivability, but due to the fact that he's just outshined in every way by these physical range carry builds. I don't think it's an issue, but it needs to be like clearly stated if, this is the intention of, these 3 characters are hard carries when you go this build is working as intended. I just pun intended with the haste. I'm looking for some clarity on this. So
yeah, no, I get what you're saying, right? And like obviously you're gonna be able to take them down with like your big blink cooldowns, right? Like a blink flip followed up by hard engage is gonna take them out, but like similar to my problem with Kindra is that's a 4 or 5 minute cooldown that when it's not they're a little untouchable.
Right, it's like saying that, you're just supposed to take Stasis and Bastion and Blink every time there's a Kindra on the enemy team so she can't get snowballing, but it's like, so we're going to sacrifice all of our abilities to shut down one character. It's just... Kindra's a completely separate issue, because I think she's really strong in mid-game and falls off hard. I'm fine with where Kindra is right now. I think she's in a great place, but physical range carries are a bit weird.
So what we need is Thornmail. So your entire front line just has Thornmail, and they just die instantly. It's like a hard counter.
Yeah, but really, how often do you get Thornmail in the league? It's like unless you're playing Rammus, Like, why are you getting a Thornmail when you can get a Randuin's? You know,
I
I
mean,
don't know. Thornmail just seems
Yeah.
gimmicky and cheesy, and I never really liked the mechanic on it. And I don't think it's really that good.
I think the
I don't know. It's a
one-to-one
weird.
one-to-one attack haste on physical range carries is fine. I just think lowering their base um, by 25 to 50% would make them
Yeah.
feel a little less out of hand. I still think they should be able to attack fast. They should still have that same sort of capacity. The damage should just take a little longer to get out. Even if it took 25% longer than it does now, I think it would give those tanks a little better of a chance to try and close the gap, but still allow for good physical range carries with good positioning to be able to outplay that and still carry games. So I think there's a fine balance, and obviously it's still, I mean, we just had, what, 9th beta test?
Yep.
So things are always being fine-tuned, but that's just one thing that I felt all the players that knew about it and were doing it were having pretty good success with it. I'm not really a physical range carry player, so I didn't take much advantage of it. Acids likes to derp around on Volek and win if we can. Randy's, of course, your sort of bruiser role. But so I haven't really tested the build extensively myself. I have gone full 6 haste build. You do get a lot of attacks. You do a lot of damage. It's something that I'm concerned about. I don't think it's a complete issue yet. I think we'll see more builds evolve to help counter it, more strats to help get around that. But I'm certainly, it's on my radar of concern.
Well, what I want to know is, do you think that their damage is too high, or that they can't be countered, or that you can't kill them? Like, what is the most egregious of those three?
They're killable. They're killable if you get to them. I think it's just it's incredibly difficult to get to them just due to the way that inevitability and fate work off of every proc.
And Desecrator.
As opposed to if fate was on a 4-second cooldown, like every every 4 attacks I shoot out 3, you would still get your inevitability off. And whatnot. Maybe even moving inevitability to a pseudo proc. I think the thing about the way Fate is balanced is it's set up so it works on everyone, which is a great thing that I love about the Dawngate item shop is every item works on everyone. I can build destruction, you can build destruction. It gives the same sort of pen for us. It gives us power. We use it differently. That's awesome. Same thing with Fate. Melees can build it. Ranges can build it. And so that's the way it's set up. It gives melees a cleave, and it gives range that 3-shot ability, where I think it might be better if Fate had 2 passives, and if it was listed as, the melee and the range, and, the melee one worked as a cleave, and the range one was 3 targets within 200 range of your base target, but not behind where they are. So it can go 200 to the side, 200, to the front, sort of. But
there's a lot of readability and stuff in that too, right? Because now you got like items that are like doing one thing for melee, one thing for range.
Right,
like
and I think it's.
You mentioned it before, but I think the best thing for it is just give it a little timer, a little cooldown, little 2 seconds, second and a half, just so it's not every auto attack. Where the fate is going off. Like, come on, dude. It just or make it so that the spread happens at the start of the auto attack, not off the target that it hits.
Well, the problem with that is the melee. That's not going to work that well for melee because, they'd be.
I mean, just think about
the spread on a range carry would be much higher.
I don't know what Fate's number is, but it's somewhere between 100 to 200, which is the attack range of a melee a bruiser. So the fact that I can pick up a Fate and I'm splash damaging to targets further than my attack range is, like that or about the same, it seems a little silly that it works the same way on melee and physical.
It's a toughie. Because obviously League solved their problem by putting it on 2 items. Ruin's Hurricane is an item, and then there's that Cleave item. And that's like one of the things that Dawngate trying really hard not to do, right? Because you just don't want these, other than maybe forcing them to not even appear in the item shop, but buying the wrong item type things is always like a bad thing. So if, like you say, you can somehow shove it on the item in 2 different forms, I guess it could work.
I don't think it would be egregious to have one item that has a slightly longer paragraphs than other that say on melee is cleave, on range is spread attacks. I think
Yeah.
I think having that passive and for it reading differently on shapers is fine. And if at any point there's a transformation shaper, something akin to Elise or Jace or something, when you're changing forms, you'd still get the effect, In your melee form, you get the melee effect. In your range form, you get the range effect. So that's something that I like. I think a timer on Fate could be nice. It's just the range on it is large. It's just the on-hit effect is good. It's in a good place right now. The same with Insight having power scaling. Obviously, you're not going a whole lot of power when you have a haste build, but it's concerning for where physical range carries are in terms of their potential to just obliterate a team 1v5.
Now, one thing, Raina, you were saying that it applies to on-hit effects, right?
Yup.
And
it does.
I'm also apparently it can crit as well. So
I didn't know that.
I'm wondering if nerfs might be more warranted with that, right? Like I don't think the spread projectiles on League of Legends attacks can crit or apply on hit, but I might be wrong.
It applies on hit.
Oh, it does? Okay. So I mean, I'd be curious to see exactly how that interacts with crit and sort of like, because that just seems too high, right? Like 3 spread attacks all critting is just like absurd.
And like 60% of
your
your base damage, you're like, oh, well, that's nothing. But what about when you have 350 base damage? Like, oh, well, now it's not insignificant anymore.
Is that your basic attack damage, like as it goes on the score sheet, or is it the damage of the basic attack you just dealt? That's 2 different things.
Basic
one
attack
of which
damage.
I mean that's the tooltip, right? But which one it is has very different connotations. So
moving sort of out of Fate, but still staying in Fate's territory, I know something that we've had rumored is the BKB spell being added to the game, which would make you invulnerable to stuns and slows and whatnot, which I think that introduction, if that comes in a coming week, would be a great way, because inevitability is just, it's giving that high kite potential, but if, your tanks can pick that up and just power through any stuns and slows and get straight to the range AD carry if they don't have the best positioning, I think that would be a good counter to it. So I'd like to see, how that sort of spell plays in the game, which I know has been hinted at by the devs.
Yeah, I'd love to see like Freya jump in, pop Railway Fear, pop BKB, and or whatever the BKB equivalent is, and just melt the Michaela. It'd be like a really fun race to watch, see which one could do more damage faster. And obviously the Freya's going to die immediately thereafter, but then maybe
as
you
long
got
as
your
you can make the trade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I always hate about melee carries is the fact that you're usually going for that 1-for-1 trade at best,
and it feels more like an assassin than a carry.
Yeah. Right. Unless you have resets, right? You got your Kha'Zix from League doing like, oh, I've killed somebody, but I'm jumping again. And I mean, I'd have to get more in touch with Dota to see, sort of how they handle that type of thing. But, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Less gently, BKB is like Olaf ult. I think that's correct.
That's a good.
Or is it Is it like wait, Master you can be stunned, right?
Yeah, he's just immune to
it's more like Olaf.
It's Olaf ult.
It's immune to crowd control, but not magic damage, if I'm correct. Or at least the one that they had talked about for Dawngate. Like they were saying CC only.
What else do we got? We made the site look prettier. It's something we've got in progress.
Oh my god.
MOBA Champion is something John's been doing, going around, taking out all the drop shadow, picking shades of orange, 50 shades of orange.
Yeah, we're trying to making sure the orange isn't excessive, but it looks a lot better. It was all started by that post.
Yeah, we saw a cool fan redo of our site, and the sort of.
It was so good. It was like. I looked at it, I was like, I can't do this. I can't make this look this
It showed us the realm of possibilities, and it was like, we will now round all of the corners, lose all of the drop shadow, so it's pretty heavily inspired by that.
Definitely.
What was that guy's name? I'd like to give him a proper shout out. He did a really phenomenal job with that.
I've got him Skype, but I don't want to like say his full name in case he wouldn't want me to.
Right.
Um,
He did a great job with that though, and it was nice to have someone sort of just, hey, look at this design idea I have, and we're just like, oh, that's awesome. We're going to try that out
we
now.
will use it. Yeah, and it turned out pretty well. And yeah, I mean, I definitely talked to him. It's like I will give you a shout out anywhere. To let me know. So, but I don't want to like go and post his name everywhere just in case he didn't want me to. So
I think I can
Well,
sort of.
what kind of features do you want to add to the website, John? That's a chat question.
what features will
I can
you
sort of
keep
pop up
adding?
site.
Stuff. We
Stuff.
have a extensive list of stuff.
Oh, look at that
Um,
site. Look at that orange.
Look at that site. Preservation.
Rounded corners. I think almost everything.
Rounded corners.
Tier lists, rounded corners. Game. Did you fix all the game info? Spells?
Oh yeah. The game inflow is complete. All those pages I redid those this morning on my holiday.
Yeah, look at
Shapers.
those boobs.
Dibs, what are you looking like? Ooh, look at those ability videos.
So I got a question PM to me when we're gonna update the tier list.
John, this doesn't look good. Our video's not. Oh, wait, there it goes.
It should be going. It's YouTube. I can't make YouTube go any faster. So yeah, we'll have to talk about how fast we'll be upgrading the tier list. Probably, I don't know, maybe bi-weekly. I don't know. What do you think, Baby Cat?
Sort of as I feel there's changes, obviously we have to do large write-ups on it, but I would probably say at least once a month. If there's big changes, probably every 2 weeks. We'll see
Yeah,
things
that is
shuffle
one
around.
thing.
I think we'll have,
have
the Council of Dawngate and sort of reshift where I'm tiering things, because I have had opinion changes. We have had melees, lots of buffs, lots of changes. So I do think things are in slightly
We've
different
180'd
places.
pretty hard on like Volok since we did the tier list. So
Not Volok
Yeah.
entirely. I still think Volok's in a good place, but obviously like physical range carries I think are a lot stronger than I initially thought. Amaranth is a little weaker now that people are playing well against her. So I
Yeah, I
think
mean, there's a lot of things because we talk to a lot of people about it as well. We get a lot of opinions. So there's a lot of feedback to collect before we make updates as
right,
well.
because another thing is we just don't want it from like exclusively high tier players. We want sort of mid-tier opinions and even like that low-level first impression feel as well to factor in to sort of give a general tier list of what is going to be, where do they feel strongest, how would you rate this, and just collecting all that information and sort of averaging it, and then forcing some of those higher level sort of 5v5 competitive decisions as well. So
Yeah,
it's
and
a
then
lot of things to factor in, a lot of people to talk to get this, in a place where we
Yep.
feel comfortable stamping our name on it.
I had a suggestion that we label it so it has a date at least. It's like this patch or this week and stuff
Right,
like that. And then
patch
one
7
thing
or
we talked
something.
about, right? One thing we talked about last week is it all runs off like a little data object. So be able to like cycle through and be like, you can look at last week's tier list, this week's tier list. It just needs to be set up. Fortunately, my spare time is always limited. So, and then to fully answer that other guy's question about what site features are coming, there are 16 major site features on my to-do list. So,
16.
lots of stuff.
Yeah.
16.
Lots of
Yep.
stuff, always working, always waiting on new things and always working on new features. I think we just reskinned the forums and going to be working on putting a little more love into
Yep.
those, hopefully.
Yeah,
So we got
the
things
forums were
planned.
fun.
Yeah, the forums have really, for now, just been serving as our back-end account system. Just
That's
like,
it, yeah.
we're going to have forums and use it as our account system and not really put any love into it. But the game's growing, MOBA Champion's growing, so I think there's going to be a little more love there, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, we keep hitting records every week with like viewership or not, whatever the
Page
website
views.
Yeah, those uniques and stuff. I don't do this for a living, so yeah. I mean, everything will be continually improved upon, iterated on, and new stuff will come out. And yeah, it's all in the works. It'll come when it comes.
we're getting there, guys. We're going places,
Mm-hmm.
and you're all coming with us.
I guess so.
You're
Yeah, 'cause
welcome, Twitch
got
chat.
I don't got much to talk about left over anymore, so we could take them with us straight into the after show if we really wanted to.
Yeah,
Preach!
Do you guys want the preach? Do you guys want to do a little QA for a bit and then do the preach?
Yeah, I like QA.
Sounds good.
Any cues for 3 Barry best friends?
Someone was questioning about what our opinions on customizable loadouts.
It's coming soon. TM. That's something that dropped
TM.
first week. I saw Scott talking about it this last week. Scott is Zyrule. Custom loadouts is something they're working on. Obviously, it's a very delicate system to balance. There's a lot of different ways it can be implemented. But it's going to be coming soon, TM, from what I understand.
I care so little about the loadout system.
Why? I want so many more
I want customizable loadouts,
big
yeah.
loadouts, like force bubble sort of things, like the movement speed and brush. Like I want to be able to like spec into some points and then pick one big passive. Like I want like I don't even know. A heal when I drop below a certain amount of health, like maybe even a shield loadout, Moby boots, like come on. Anything is possible. Loadouts, custom
Especially
loadouts.
for like when we want to do like our predator jungle shenanigans, like I want a loadout specifically for that. Like I don't know if like Resonance I guess is just the one that everyone takes because of the extra damage, but I feel like there's other little hidden gems in there somewhere and I wanna experiment on things.
Like if there was I really like the loadout passives because they're fun, like stuff like force bubble, brawler giving you the armor when you're around, just stuff like that is fun. But even just seeing some different damage ones, like 10% damage against jungle creeps and having like a jungle loadout so predators can take that as opposed to going hunter, faster clear speeds, just putting passives on everything, sort of having those quintessence of just sweet abilities, as you will, for your loadouts.
I'm certainly interested in that stuff, and this is like a cardinal sin that I hate when people say, but I wish they'd work on other stuff first. I'd like to get the spectator type stuff out, and I know since their team is so small that their resources are a little constricted. So like I'd like that stuff out first.
Yeah, it's sort of you can't have everything at once. So what features do we want? First. I think spectating would be good, and I mean they don't even have a live team. I mean that's why the beta's only up 2 days a week. So they're doing a great job with their small team, and it's sad that we can't have all the features we want at once.
7 days a week first.
It's like we can't have all the features we want. It's like I don't care.
Just like to
Give
play
me
the game whenever I want.
It's like shaper development takes a long time for those to be balanced. So. It's fun waiting for all the features we want, and all we can really do is sit here and speculate.
So quick on the esports stuff. We're not even there yet. Everyone's like just so like, oh look, I mean even on the Reddit this week, it's like let's get a team together. Like I'm ready to take this seriously. I've been playing Dawn Gate for 7 weeks, bro. I'm a pro now. I'm like, guys, come on,
please,
just keep it in your pants.
I think we're gonna.
Let's go into LCS yet. All right.
When we have like 30 or 40 shapers, there's not enough alternatives. Like even if each team was given one ban, I could ban out the entire support archetype. Like
for real.
There needs to be more options.
Yeah, I mean I like playing 5v5s, but I'm more interested in like solo queue laddering, and then just more. They touched briefly on the stream last week about like meta, like out of game progression. Like they just barely blipped it. So like stuff like that is
I
more
think
of the stuff.
Zwill, Andy Belford was saying he was really excited for the progression they had coming for the out of game. So I am anticipating what they've come up with and what they're working on. Hype train, choo-choo.
Zalga said he was like fond of single player content and like bots and stuff. Like.
Stuff like that. I mean, it'd be fun even if there was like some silly like single player challenge scenario things, like 1v5 your way out of this sort of thing. Sort of training mode features and.
But King, we don't even know what the business model's gonna be. So, like you saying, you get the esports up and running so they can make more money off of it. We don't even know how they intend on making money.
And another thing is, it's a free-to-play game. Everybody playing the beta hasn't paid any money to play in the beta, so all of the, like, it costs money to have a team running esports. You know, people need to be playing the game every day, so until servers are up, 24/7, it's really going to be hard to...
Like, it's silly to even talk about it until the servers are up all, like, every day.
Yeah, because if you're only practicing a game 2 days a week, it's hard to get, really good. And there's a lot of mechanics. I've played it pretty much every beta test all the way through, and there's a lot of mechanics I don't even fully understand yet.
You're exactly right. Like, I didn't realize how Fate worked until this week when I was like, oh wait, it doesn't work like Hurricane. It's based off where the where shit gets. Like, I find something out like that every single week when I play this game still, and I've played quite a few games. So it's like we're just pump the brakes on the esports, guys, and the team forming.
Well, I think one of the things King Sen Tourage was saying that they want people to be able to individually make money, and I can certainly appreciate that. I mean, like little community, like rinky-dink tournaments, like $50-$100, like the type of stuff that'll get like kids. Shishamber. The stuff that get like people excited, right? It's like, oh, I won $100 and go for a lull this week. Like I can certainly see the appeal in that of getting people playing.
Queues.
Anybody got some questions?
I don't think the game. I mean, I think their website got leaked. I don't think that their game.
I think just the forums somehow got leaked, and people stumbled across the forums and like, hey, this game. It doesn't. That's not a thing. But the forums were being set up because they were preparing for beta.
I mean, that Machinima article didn't come out of thin air.
That's not like they're just like, oh crap, we gotta contact Machinima and make a video and
get them over
everyone.
Here.
We gotta do the beta because somebody found our website. So I think everything was planned.
Yeah, at least like I mean, I think it's a little silly to say that there wouldn't be a beta right now if it didn't get leaked. I don't think that's the case, but Paris said it on stream. All right, I'm wrong. I don't know.
What
Who
about
knows
Par?
what I'm saying? Paradoxic, like I said it on stream. I don't know.
Too many devs to keep up with.
True.
What's up?
I think we're on our 99th. No, we're at 100 guides. The 100 guide was released during the podcast.
What was really? Like right now, we just had our 100th guide?
Literally within the last hour, yeah. Nissa Comeback Boomerang by Fell Warrior.
I need to take a look at this. Beautiful. Can you edit
its
its name to the 100th guide special? Fell Warrior's been writing a lot of guides for the site. And, like, just looking at this, he's got it cleanly laid out.
I like it.
He's got the smaller ability icons. Did you just put those in, or is he doing cool things with those?
I took the feedback from that other guy that wrote that other guide a couple of days ago and what you were saying, and I made them half size. Look at it, it's beautiful.
It's not working entirely properly. It's telling me all of them are Focus Shape or Animal Companion.
Really? Oh, awkward.
And it's got the wrong icons, but it's a nice start, John.
Oh.
We'll have to fix it.
That's a bug.
That's a bug. But no, it's cleanly laid out. I'm proud. This is our 100th guide. Go upvote and downvote guides that you like, preferably next beta after actually trying them.
Unlike Reddit, we will not ban you from the site from telling people to upvote.
Right, because we need that feedback.
A couple of...
I think there's
it's just one of those things I saw.
Well.
A streamer this weekend was like, "Oh, go upvote my thread on Reddit," and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna get banned so fast."
Venor, take him down.
They don't. Well, it's like an actual site rule of Reddit.
Right, it's
like
a full site rule.
The admins, yeah. But it's most people don't know that, right? Because I mean, how often do you go on the Reddit rules page? Like never. So, yeah, we're repeating.
We're repreaching.
What are we doing this week? Because I don't have Smite.
I
don't think I'm playing after show games.
I have medical
early
things
in the
today.
morning.
I am so just worn out, and I've got the Petra Spotlight to do, John.
Are you? That's not done yet, eh? I guess we're going to McDonald's.
You're going to Dick's?
McDick's.
McDick's.
Fat.
All right. Well, we're preaching. Thank you guys so much for watching the special Money Pigs podcast. episode 10. This is Baby Cat signing off.